Hello and welcome back to Seahawks podcast. It's another victory episode, so you know what that means.
Oh, I didn't know we were actually doing this.
No, never mind. Okay, well, we don't have to.
Oh, no. Hold on.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more. We're going to win so much.
There we go.
Also, if you're
Matt
going
went
to
an
bet on
impressive
games,
15-1 in a 16 game pick'ems this week. I went 13-3 because I picked the two very big upsets and actually picked Seattle, unlike Matt. Um, so both great weeks for us as well as our teams winning. Can't ask for much more.
you just keep winning. This is so much different compared to last year, where it's either we sucked at picking or our teams lost or combination of both. This actually kind of feels kind of nice.
It does. I hope it continues.
We know
Just
what we're talking
beat the
about.
Cardinals again for us. If the Raiders beat the Bucks, if we beat the Falcons, there's one other game that has to go our way. New Orleans, or wait, no, this is the recap. Whoever's playing the Rams has to beat the Rams.
Tyler.
Um, and we make the playoffs this week.
That'll
What?
be for the predictions video. We'll get to that shortly. But
I know. Okay. Okay. Thursday. I watched all three of these games. Chicago looked like the better team that day, but
in
they
the second
inevitably
half,
blew it. Well, yeah, but they had everything figured out and they stopped Detroit. If you can stop Detroit's offense, you're a good team. Um, even for a half, like holy crap, they didn't just stop them; they prevented everything in the second half. But Chicago was in every position to win or at least tie that game. And had it gone into overtime, I truly believe they would have won because Detroit just could not move the ball, and Chicago was moving it almost at will. Um, as we all know, Eberflus got fired because of that decision. As we all know, that was just the worst thing that could have happened. He should have called a timeout at the very least with 10 seconds left on the clock. Um, Dallas beating the Giants.
are
Eh.
we not going to talk about the firing?
I said Eberflus got fired.
Oh, well, I don't know. But yeah,
Yeah.
Eberflus fired. He deserved it. Should have been fired last year. There was no reason to keep him. Um, we're starting to get into this weird age of people giving their coaches one more chance with a rookie quarterback, and then the coach still sucks and then just stunts the development of the quarterback, and now you've just screwed yourself. Um, because you're putting a rookie quarterback under two head coaches, two systems in 2 years. It's just not a way to go. But yeah, Dallas, you've won another game. Wow.
Yep. And then Miami thought it was December football already because it's getting colder. So,
It's just cold in Green Bay in general. They probably got there like, ah, shit. Well,
yeah, might as well start December football now.
yeah, close
Um,
enough.
the Raiders should have easily won that game as well. Kansas City continues to win not because of them closing out close games, but the ineptitude of their opponents to do the simplest of tasks at the end of games,
Yeah.
which is why the Vikings are the better version of the Chiefs. Because a lot of people are starting to compare those two teams because we're winning close games, but we do it by closing them out, like getting the key sack or interception needed at the end of the game, or scoring a last minute drive. Kansas City does it because of crap like the Raiders did, or bogus PI calls earlier in the season. But
Putting their
that
toe
was a
on the
sloppy
line.
game for the Chiefs.
I think we can just call this whole season sloppy for the Chiefs, but somehow they only have one loss.
Yep.
I would keep saying that there's going to be some point where it catches up to them, but if they just keep winning, I can't really say it will
Yeah. I
because the
I
Bills
don't
have
know,
just had success against Kansas City in the regular season. That's
but not in
just
the playoffs.
history. Now in the playoffs, we'll see which trend lasts longer. Um, and then Atlanta, prime Kirk Cousins
Hold on. I got to talk
back.
about this one first. That's my former quarterback. While I'm glad he's gone, I hate that he has a 4 interception performance in the game before us because that just means he's going to go off against his former team, like Jerry
Five
Judy did against his
touchdowns.
former team. But we'll get to that. But holy crap, did Kirk Cousins screw that game for Atlanta?
Five touchdown performance incoming.
Yeah, they're for sure beating us, 100%.
As you said, for how many weeks in a row, but
I have not
yeah.
said that for weeks in a row. I picked the Vikings to beat Arizona. I did not say they would beat us.
Okay. Well,
And then before that, we played the Titans and the Jaguars and the
what
Colts.
you kept saying, like they have a good chance to beat you.
I said every team has a chance to beat every team every week. So
You
I'm not
were a
going to like
little
completely discredit it, but I've not picked against the Vikings until this week since when did I pick against the Vikings last?
Detroit, probably.
Yeah, I think I picked the Rams to win, but I'm not sure.
I don't know. But yeah, Los Angeles somehow gets away with having no offense, but Kirk Cousins just kept turning the ball over, so they didn't need offense. Um,
Hmm.
McConkey had a few bad fumbles, but then Kirk Cousins throws 4 INTs, which kind of helps swing it the other way. Um, Atlanta, you're choking the division. I think they have choked it with Tampa Bay winning. I'm not exactly sure on that, but
Yeah,
um,
Tampa Bay's schedule was much easier than Atlanta's, so
which has
Tampa Bay
got to the
can
point
get to be a
where
game ahead.
yes, Atlanta had all of their key division games early in the season where they could get the head-to-head tiebreaker. But now what's happening is they're into their real, like actually playing good teams part of their schedule and they're getting dominated. So even having the division lead against or head-to-head division lead um, against the Saints and Tampa Bay, it's not going to help them if they aren't even close to being near the top. But we'll see if this continues, which I believe it will. On to Pittsburgh, which I can talk about my former quarterback now. Um, Cincinnati, your defense just sucks. I'm not even saying
Absolutely.
this is just some prime Russ that just came out of a freaking time capsule. This ain't no Doctor Who shit. But Russ looks really good in this game. He had the pick six at the beginning of the game, which I think was also his first pass as well. It was a little fluky. I don't know why they didn't call pass interference or holding or anything. The cornerback literally like shoved um what's his name? Shit. Pickens. Pickens. Um Pickens' helmet to the ground, aka just pushing Pickens' head to the ground. And then Russ was already throwing that way because it was a quick pass off the line of scrimmage. And well, Pickens was laying on the ground already, and the quarterback just picked it off and ran for a touchdown. Rest of the game, Russell played great. Fields got the game sealing first down, which this time, unlike the Washington game, he didn't slide too early. He got past the first down and didn't slid. We'll get to sliding in a few games. That was another topic of discussion this week. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, Steelers offense played great. I don't remember the last time they'd ever scored 44 points. Um, it's been a while. So offense finally came alive. Do I feel like that was more the Cincinnati defense just sucks? Yes. They're completely ruining a. I honestly
They're
argue that
having a record-setting offensive year.
that's what I was about to say, where if Cincinnati had a winning record, just a winning record, he'd be in the discussion for MVP. But this team is so bad defensively, it's ruining an MVP type year from Joe Burrow and a maybe OPOY for Justin Jefferson. It's that bad
You
on the
mean Jamar Chase?
DeMar. I'm looking at Justin Jefferson below it, and
I was like, hey, that's our LSU receiver. Wrong guy.
Both start with a J, whatever. But yeah, Jamar Chase would be in the argument for OPOY. Joe Burrow would be in the discussion for MVP, but this team just sucks. Um,
I think we can both agree this is the most threatening team way under 500
yeah, that's
in
definitely
the league. Like this, if you had to play a team under 500, you do not want to play the Bengals.
no.
Um, but holy crap. Um, yeah, I mean Cincinnati's defense is just atrocious. Good to see Russell Wilson coming back to form, at least like most of the way there. Like he's not where he was at Seattle. I don't think he'll ever get back to that because Father Time is, catching up to him, but he's at least looking like a good quarterback again.
So just
Putting up the
before we move
numbers.
on, real quick, another Peyton Wilson sighting almost got a recovery on one fumble and then got a scoop and score off another. So Peyton Wilson
Yep,
putting work as a rookie. So great to see. But moving
there
on,
we go.
I guess we'll talk about our games last, or do you want to get it over now?
Yeah. I'll just get it over with. We
Okay.
both agreed no stats to keep this week shorter. So I'll just say that the past 3 weeks, Sam Darnold has been looking great. No picks in the past 3 weeks. And he's been playing some of the best football of his career in the past 3 weeks, and he's really just led game-winning drives when we needed it. He's really stepped up. The 5 sacks he's taken, four of which were missed blocking assignments of free rushers, in which he literally had 2 seconds before the guy was on him after the ball was snapped. So no chance whatsoever for Darnold to even think about getting out of the pocket, um, or getting rid of the ball for that matter. Cardinals had us for most of that game, but our defense held them to the field goals. That was kind of like my worry going in after we scored our touchdown to go up by 1 point. I was like, we left them too much time to get a field goal. But the one thing is that final drive left. It took so much time that our defense finally got a rest because Cardinals dominated the time of possession. With the rested defense, we got a huge sack, um, a chase down of Kyler Murray by our edge rusher Jonathan Grenard, for no gain, and then Kyler Murray throws a pick while under duress. So to Shaq Griffin to steal the game again. Thanks for teaching Shaq Griffin to be such a great cornerback.
No problem.
Um, and yeah, Byron Murphy had a pick in that game. Justin Jefferson got back to form. Because the Cardinals decided not to triple cover him. They didn't want Jordan Addison and Hawkinson to eat, so Jefferson got his this week. So that was definitely good to see. Just great showings by both sides of the ball. Missed field goal on special teams, but they missed one as well, so it washes out. Aaron Jones' fumble was the only problem. He actually fumbled twice, but we recovered the first one. Um, but we got him the touchdown pass in the end. So I mean, it's just the coaching staff in terms of culture is just amazing here, and the belief in the players. We just gotta get better at getting offensively set in the beginning of these games. And if we can score consistently throughout all 4 quarters, I don't think there's a team in the league that can stop us. So 10-2, on to some more. Um, the Colts immune to the Honolulu flu. So congrats. I don't really have much to say about that game.
No,
Um,
Drake played well. Just sucked at the end. You just wish you could have gotten 5 more yards because that field goal was online. It was just a few yards short. So one of those you wish you could have gotten a couple more yards and that would have been right on. But um, this team wasn't going to be in contention. Actually, they were just eliminated this Sunday, I believe. So
yep.
one of those games where it's just like you're glad to see the improvement. You just need to build off of it. And they'll have a good top 5 pick in this next draft to help bring in some talent. So maybe like a Travis Hunter. I don't know.
Maybe. Um, and then Seattle at New York. I guess we'll talk about that. I guess you'll talk about that one
Yeah.
because
Yep, yep,
we
yep, yep,
won't
yep,
we,
yep.
we won't comment on each other's. So
Okay. I won't talk about stats, but there will be one person's stats I'm talking about. That's it. But Well, special teams, come on over. Come take a seat. Um, what the actual fuck? Three straight kick returns of muff, and two of them were covered in our territory, and one the Jets easily got a touchdown. The other, I'll talk about Leonard Williams in a minute. And then another time on a kick return the other way, we let the Jets take it back for a touchdown. Something needs to change here, and it needs to happen quick because we can't just put ourselves down 21 to 7, potentially about to go down 28 to 7. Again, I'll talk about Leonard Williams in a minute. Um, Other things with this game, Geno Smith, he played okay, didn't play great. Michael Dixon was hurt during the game. He was having some back issues, so hopefully he's okay. But that kind of hampered any sort of punting, which, as a Seahawks fan, ain't bad when we're actually forced to go for fourth downs because things are actually happening. Um, Jason had a good game. AJ Barner, another touchdown appearance. Now, the one man I will talk about his stats, Leonard Williams is having the best 2 weeks of his career. Talked about his performance last week, but this week, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, pass defended, 2 QB hits, and a 92-yard pick six, which I don't know, I can't remember if it was the longest INT returned by a 300-pound plus player, but it was at least one of the longest interception returns by a 300-pound plus player. We got ourselves a thick six, boys. Um, yeah, great to see. Like, this was the type of performance we were hoping to see from him when we traded for him last year. Took him a while, but these past 2 weeks, he has been a beast. And if he can stay healthy for the rest of the year and still play with this intensity, this team is actually going to be at least a problem. Might not beat a team in the playoffs, but we're going to be a tough fight this year.
He will be the reason y'all win the V-Hawk Bowl in week 15 or no, 16. Yeah, 16.
Only
Um
other thing I want to really talk about real quick is Reek Woolen had a bit of a rough game. There was one play he got a penalty called on, and then another play where actually I don't even think it was a penalty. It was two back-to-back plays that just went really wrong for him, and he had a bit of a rough day. But one of those as a, I believe, third-year player, if not fourth, one of those things he just has to learn from. And hopefully McDonald can sit him down and just pep him back up, make sure he just learns from this experience and move on. I still have really good confidence in both our corners, and it was just a tough matchup this week. Devontae Adams is going to come down with whatever's thrown his way as long as it's thrown to him accurately, and Rodgers isn't trying to blame the wind and a bug in the air and being immunized from actually playing well. But yeah, it was a tough matchup. Glad to see they didn't destroy us. So we got the win. We'll take it, and we're running off. Speaking of,
it's funny that Washington is next because that was the drunk game last week with them and the Cowboys, and I'm ready to declare your game the drunk game of
oh
this
hell
week.
yeah,
Um, so Washington crushing the Tennessee Titans. What happened to the Tennessee defense is really, I think, all we need to say there. Because Will Levis didn't even play poorly. It was their defense that didn't show up. Then there's the hit on Trevor Lawrence, sparking a lot of controversy. The only people that don't think he deserves a suspension for that hit are diehard Houston Texans fans and people who have criminal records of violence. Like, that's the nastiest hit in years since Vontez Burfict was in the league, probably.
Also, Chiefs got lucky because some people were thinking it was going to be a 2 game suspension and he'd be back for the Chiefs game. 3 game suspension, he will now miss the Chiefs game. So, Mahomes, you got lucky. And I believe he also was the one to injure Caleb Williams when they played. So
Mm.
starting to get a history, which might be the reason for the 3 game suspension. But
He's
yeah,
the new Kirby Joseph.
one of those things I don't like sliding just because of how vulnerable of a position that puts you in. And yes, it's a 15-yard penalty if you hit the quarterback, but it's 15 yards compared to putting the opposing team quarterback out for the whole game.
Yeah.
There's got to be something. Like,
Imagine Jacksonville still wins that game. If you're Houston, like imagine what would have happened.
that's not even the point I'm going for. It's just sliding is probably the most dangerous position you could put yourself on the football field. And either quarterbacks need to learn if you're in the open field and there's a player coming towards you, you can't slide. And I know Rex Ryan was saying dive at the guy's feet because at that point the defender will get out the way because they're trying to protect their ankles.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if that's the perfect way to do it, but that's better than just sliding down and letting your head just be rammed into.
You could also just like tuck the football in, and as like some quarterbacks know they're getting sacked, so they just protect the football. They're not even trying to get it out anymore. Just hold it up and wait for somebody to bring you down. That could be something else they look at in the future, like get to where you need to go and then just hold up.
Just collapse
Um,
sideways or something.
yeah, something like that. Like give yourself up in some way that gets away from the defender. Um, and you'll be marked down from wherever you decided to make that move. Um, but yeah,
There's
Los
got to be
Angeles
something.
against New Orleans, very boring game, in my opinion.
New Orleans had
Sad
a
that Taysom
chance and then
Hill's
just blew
out.
it at the end.
Yeah, they started strong. Um, Carolina had a great game.
That
Just
kept in overtime. Holy shit.
Adam Thielen with the clutch touchdown, then the clutch one-handed grab in overtime. Former Viking, one of my favorite receivers of all time. Just love to see him
Then
still doing it at like 34, 35. I think. He's old.
and then the fumble, the next play right after the one-handed catch. Go for the field goal. That's all you need. I don't
Yeah.
understand these teams when you're in position. They were clearly in foot or field goal range. I think they were at the 30. You can kick a field goal, and that would have won it.
Yeah.
And I will say, I feel bad for Bryce Young because he's been playing really well lately.
That past couple weeks he's been playing great ball. He really has. They're a tough out this year.
But the issue came up on the fumble. He was nearby the ball and didn't dive for it, and it's already being compared to Cam Newton, the Super Bowl of Cam Newton holding up and not going for the ball. And I feel bad for him. It's one of those you just got to go for it. Like the game's on the line, you give it back to the Buccaneers and they're going to score. It's for the game. Go for it. You have nothing to lose. Um, and it just sucks to see. And hopefully in the future, when hopefully the Panthers will finally play some meaningful games next year where he won't make that same mistake. But it was a tough loss for him, and I feel bad for him. But Tampa Bay gets another win, and here they
They're
come
now
back.
tied with Atlanta. They just got to get a game ahead. Speaking of bad AFC North defenses, other than the Steelers, because they're the only ones with a good one, um, Baltimore. That game is not the indication of how close that game was,
No, not
or the
even
score.
close.
So, Philadelphia dominated. Saquon Barkley is him. If running backs could actually win the MVP nowadays, Saquon Barkley would be ahead of Derrick Henry because not only does he have better stats by a slim margin, but Derrick Henry's also played one extra game. Their bye week is this week. So Saquon has one extra game to get even further ahead of Derrick Henry. So, uh, but yeah, Derrick Henry was pretty shut down in that game. And Philadelphia just ran and passed all over him pretty much. So, um,
I will say,
just great showing on the road. They continue their win streak.
I will say, Justin Tucker, I need you to look at the flowers. It's time to send him to the farm upstate in New York. Like,
Yep,
I think he's what, 17 of 24 on field goals now.
something like that. Father Time caught
It's
up with him too.
oh. And here's the thing, like it's not even just father time this year. I agree with you that that's probably what's doing it for him. But we didn't talk about this with the Atlanta game. But Younghoe Koo has been sucking lately as well. Like some of these
Mhm.
quarterbacks, some of these kickers have been having a horrible year. That's usually they're the most trustworthy kickers in the league. Um, in a year that like we started the year like these kickers are just hitting 60-yard bangers and it's just wild.
Yeah. So what
And
you're telling me is Kirk Cousins is going to destroy us, but our offense is going to keep us in it. Then Younghoe Koo is going to make a 68 yarder
yeah,
to win the game.
basically. You're
Okay.
welcome.
Anyway, San Francisco at Buffalo. What we expected happened, and San Francisco, if you weren't dead already, actually no, you were dead. Someone used a wand and resurrected you, and then continued to beat you until you died again.
Yeah.
And
And
then
they did it
buried you with
again.
cement in just in case. Um, Josh Allen, I've seen enough. He's MVP.
Yeah.
No one will change my mind. It is. Oh yeah, I know it's only week 13. Buffalo clinched their division, but and therefore a playoff berth. But there's nobody else who can catch Josh Allen for MVP, in my opinion, right
Unless
now.
he like bombs the rest of the season, that's the only way. Like, yes, he lost to Lamar, but he beat Patrick Mahomes, which they were undefeated at the time. Um, he's played great all season. It wasn't until the Seattle game where he threw his first pick, and that was halfway through the season. Um, he's played great. He's not had as many turnovers as he's had before, and that's what's really hurt the Bills some years. Um, But for the 49ers, it sucks what happened to CMC. I don't think he ever got fully healthy or when he was trying to come back. I don't think his body ever got fully into football shape. And then you have that type of freak injury where I don't even, if I remember seeing the clip correctly, it's not even contact. It's just him stepping into the ground to plant to go upfield. And it just, like, you see, like, his
Yeah,
calf explode or whatever the injury was located. It was ugly to see. And
and
now
Mason got
they're,
hurt on top of that, and both of them are on IR.
yeah, but CMC, they're saying it was originally reported it was going to be 6 weeks. Now coming out that it might be the rest of the season, which even if he was able to come back, where the 49ers are right now, unless they can somehow sneak into the playoffs, he just needs to stay off. He'll come back next year. You have way too many injuries. You wouldn't even really do anything in the playoffs. Get to the offseason, regroup, come back next year healthy.
And at that point, they would need to win out
Yeah.
or to get a little help from Washington or from you guys just being a dumpster fire division this year to be able to get the West somehow. Because like you look at the wild card teams, the Vikings 10-2, Packers 9-3, Washington, I believe they're 8-5 because they're bye weeks this week, right? Um, so like that's the NFC is very heavy this year. So they're already behind and they've lost the tiebreaker to both the Vikings and the Packers. So you really gotta get up there. I don't think they've got the firepower to do it.
And here's the
So
thing,
I think their season's over.
and they're 1-3 in the division. They've lost to everybody, so they wouldn't even be able to get a tiebreaker on any of the teams. Um, so it sucks for them,
Yep.
but
Speaking of only needing to kick a field goal, you're under 2 minutes. Denver has one timeout left. You weren't running the ball well at all. That was the one thing Denver's defense could stop. You could have just run it 3 times, and I know you're at like your own 40, or like the opposing 40, 45, but it's Denver. Your kicker can make the kick. And maybe at that point, with how gassed the defense is, maybe Chubb or Ford actually breaks out a run at that point. Um, Instead they pass. Jameis Winston throws a pick six. He's famous for those. Um, and that seals the game. Uh, so, but basically, Bo Nix did not have a good game.
no.
Cleveland's defense shut him down. Jameis Winston had a career day, other than the pick sixes, and Jerry Jeudy is the best player in NFL history to play against his former team in terms of stats for a receiver. So good for him. Sad that his career was or his game was ruined by the pick six at the end. But wow, just that I will say I texted Matt Monday night after it happened that was when I have no horse in that race. That was probably the most exciting game I've seen with me not caring at all about either team.
This was a classic Jameis Winston performance where he almost gets 500 yards passing, gets 4 touchdowns, looks like he can set the world on fire, but he'll throw the 3 ugliest picks you ever seen, and 2 of them get returned for pick sixes. And you take those 2 away, Cleveland's winning this by a mile. Um,
Yeah, in Mile High.
as Tyler has already said, Bo Nix did not have a great game. Um, but it's just one of those things where you live or die by the Jameis Winston. He'll have games like he did against the Steelers where he pulls off huge upset on Thursday night. And then you'll have games like this where it's like he's playing so well, but the mistakes is what it costs him games. And when we saw him in his last year with Tampa Bay with a 30 for 30 season, he'd make great plays, but then there would just be some dumb-headed pick at the end of the game that would just cost them the game. So, as I
Yep.
said, it's one of those things when you play Jameis Winston, this is what you have to accept. You're going to get a lot of good, but you're going to get the same amount of bad back at some point.
Exactly why they should have just run it.
Yeah.
So you got the good amount you got to the opposing side. Run it. It's Mile High. Field goals are easier. Just that's what they should have done. But
It's not
you
like
know,
Bo Nix was playing lights out anyways. Like if you take out the 93-yard pass, he has 200 yards passing on 17 completions. Like
yep.
he wasn't lighting the world on fire other than that one 93-yard pass.
Yeah, I
And
mean, but busted coverage doesn't really, you
yeah,
know,
still have to hit him, but it's one of those things that you could trust your defense to make sure they don't get in field goal range. And if they do, well, damn, that sucks. But
yep.
you just can't throw a pick there. Um, but a
More
wild,
importantly, win for each of our teams. That's what matters.
a wild Thanksgiving weekend, which after the past 2 weeks, we needed a week of some interesting games. There's been a lot of boring games or just beatdowns. So we needed a week like this where we had some stuff to talk about.
This is true. It was a good week of football. I
But
just wish the Bears could have pulled it off. The
yeah,
one time I root, well, the 4 times I root for the Bears.
but that'll be all for this episode. Kind of a long one, not what we really expected, but a lot to talk about, as we said. Next video will be our power rankings, and then later in the week, you will see our predictions for week 14, and then we will be moving on to week 15 next week. So that'll be
We
all.
will regroup and try to make those two shorter than usual in order to make up for this promise. And as always, Skull.
Peace.